Hi, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Marci.
And we're glad you joined us for the Kind Faith Couples Podcast. Our passion is to help couples thrive, and we hope we help you do that. We're in a series, we're talking about verses. And today we're talking about life mate versus roommate.
Yeah.
Have we ever been in a place where we felt like roommates?
Yes, especially when our son was small.
Yeah, it's really easy to slip into a place of being roommates. What do you think are some of the things that contributed to us kind of moving into roommate place?
I think after you get past the honeymoon phase of your marriage and you start living life and you're getting into a routine, that you start to go into maintenance mode. And you forget that the other person, or you forget that you yourself have desires and dreams, and you forget to even dream because you're just like, I'm just going to my job, I'm coming home. Or then all of a sudden you're taking care of children and you don't even remember which end is that.
Yeah, you lock into routine, you get busy. That's
Right.
that's another reason. You're just busy trying to manage life. The truth is, as much as we watched our parents adult, nobody really trained us to adult.
Right. You didn't get a manual.
Yeah, you don't get a manual for this. And so we start to live into adulting, and it becomes a really difficult thing to manage. And so we slide into roommates and move ourselves out of life mates. And an important thing to this is you can be roommates. Now we're talking about marriage, and still have active sex life and feel like all of that is going with romance. You can have all of that happening, but still just be roommates. There's a difference between roommates and life mates. And so we want to talk about that. And life mates really revolves around the concept of friendship.
Yes.
So did you find that once we put the rings on, we moved away from being best friends and toward being roommates?
I think we got so freaked out. Oh, I did. I mean, about how it's like, oh my gosh, I'm married and now we need to make this work. And even because we're opposites, even the first day, or not like at the wedding, but like during the honeymoon, it was just like, oh my goodness, we plan our time so differently. We plan our life so differently. Our private time, our quiet time, just time with God, whatever. It's all so different. So it was, I don't think I had a grasp of like how different it was. So I just went into kind of a denial and stopped thinking.
Yeah, and the wonder around the person shifted from wonder about the person to crazy trying to manage the person, right? It started to move into, for both of us, and maybe you found that to be the case too, you start to realize how drastically different you are in certain areas. And so now it becomes a management issue, and the friendship starts to fade. So here's the big takeaway for this whole thing. Whether you follow this or not, or whether you need to turn off and go somewhere else or not, build the friendship in your marriage. Right. One of the great findings of the Gottmans in their research was most couples counseling deals with conflict, right?
Right.
Very little couples counseling deals with building the friendship. But when couples focus on the friendship, it really dramatically changes the health of the marriage. So let's talk about building the friendship. This last year, we got locked into the pandemic, and we had a delightful friendship discovery.
We did.
We were watching this thing called Masterclass, and you can pick up the story from here.
So everybody gardens around here. We're in an urban area and in the country. And so we just thought, let's start gardening. Well, what had happened prior to that is because we were in the pandemic and that we were in lockdown, Jeff had gone out to our garden, which was full of weeds, full, like 15-foot high weeds. And
maybe not 15 feet.
Okay, but
up to my shoulders.
Yeah, okay. So that's just because you're such a tall man.
That's right.
Okay, so anyway, he had gone out and cleaned out the garden of all the weeds, and it was just now all clean, and you could actually see where there were some planter beds ready to be planted. And so it's like, okay, let's start gardening. So we didn't know we don't know. We still are like baby gardeners. But we subscribed to Masterclass, and there's the gangsta gardener, Ron Finley, who, love you, Ron Finley, 2 thumbs up. And he taught us in this masterclass everything, like from soil to, we knew nothing.
How to unpot a plant.
How to unpot a plant, to root bound, to how to deadhead plants, and
Still don't understand that.
I mean, so all of it, and seasonal stuff, and water, how much water plants need, and all that. And so it was so great because Jeff and I learned it together. So it wasn't that he was better than me or I was better than him. We just said, we're gonna figure this out. And so we literally, what did we do, Jeff? We went to Home Depot and we bought some plants.
A bunch of stuff we didn't know what to buy.
Yeah, seeds and stuff we had no idea. Things we didn't even necessarily want to eat, like yellow squash or something. But
jalapeno plant.
Yeah.
I think I ate one jalapeno.
Well, it's because it took 6 months for the jalapeno to grow. But I know, it took way more time and money for this jalapeno to grow than just buy a 60-cent jalapeno. But the thing is that we got a raspberry bush, and what happened?
Well, we got one raspberry off the $35 raspberry bush. But the big point of this is we dove into the friendship by learning something new together.
Right.
Keyword together, keyword new. We grabbed it, we just locked into something new and said, let's do this new thing together. And it really built the friendship. That is one way. Is there something new on your horizon that you could both choose to do together? It will build the friendship, because the whole point is to build the friendship.
Right.
The other thing that we've always been good at, I think, of all the things that have been struggles, this is one thing we've been really good at, which is adventure together. Not only have we started this year to learn new things together, but we've adventured together. We've gone on memory-making adventures and done that pretty well. So adventure together, learn something new together. Talk about what friends do when it comes to taking sides.
Well, okay, so think about that. Your friend versus, not necessarily a spouse, but a friend versus an enemy or a parent. But a friend, when something happens to you, they take your side. They're like, oh my gosh, what? I can't believe that happened to you, and I can't believe they did that to you, and I can't believe they whatever.
You want me to go beat them up for you?
Right. Yes. And not literally, but but they take your side. And so taking sides is really important. For Jeff to come in, and I just said, oh my gosh, I just had this situation at the elementary school with my kid, and I didn't know how to handle it, and this other parent came up, and this other kid did this, and blah blah blah, and you're just like, oh my gosh. So instead of him trying to fix it and say, okay guys, no offense, or women, fixing it and saying, oh, well, did you think about doing this? And maybe if you had done this better, you would have not had the result that you had.
Or my big flaw is empathetically thinking about what the other person was feeling and thinking. But don't you think that other mom felt worried or scared or whatever? And all of a sudden I'm taking the other mom's side and not my spouse's side, my friend's side. That's crazy.
Yes, and it happens. But that's
we
not
do it
your
all.
goal.
We do it all the time, and to just develop the awareness of moments where I'm just going to take my spouse's side, and I don't need to know how this all played out. I don't need to coach them on how they could have done it better, and I don't need to help them develop a healthier perspective on this. I am going to just take their side and be disgusted and shocked, and I'm absolutely aghast at what you experienced.
And what is beautiful about that is it helps with listening. It means that I feel listened to when he connects with the emotion of my heart. So if I'm sad about something, for him to say, gosh, that's really sad. I'm like, I can't believe that happened to you. I'm so sorry. It's just like, oh, thank goodness. It's like somebody connected with that emotion, which is what your friends do.
Friends align emotionally to one another. And we often call it loyalty, right? So that's a form of loyalty. And we end up somehow in marriages ending our loyalty to our spouse and moving into this roommate versus life mate mode. Life mates are loyal to one another and they align their emotions with one another. And it takes work, but really it's not that hard. It's just looking and saying, wow, you should be exhausted. I'm exhausted for you, or you should be outraged. That was horrible. Or so doing that is a huge help.
Yes.
There's another thing that I have found very helpful in the counseling that I've done with couples, and that's helping the couple focus on the friendship. Have you ever had this happen where you go out on a date night and you end up talking about the remodel on your house or the plan for your kids' elementary school art project or the business of the family? Now, we know and we want to say life is busy and sometimes that's just the way it goes, and that's okay. So don't beat yourself up. However, it is really helpful to plan a business meeting with your spouse. That's not a friendship meeting and it's not a romantic time together. It's just business. We're going to plan to do the business of the family. There have been times in our lives, especially when Caleb was young, where we just had to plan it. We had to schedule it and say, we're going to have a business meeting. And what are we doing about this bill? And what are we doing about this decision? And to compartmentalize it really helped because we knew, oh, this is our time to get through the business. And then when we moved to, hey, we're just going to sit and while Marci makes dinner, I'm going to hang out and talk with her, or we're going to go out on a date, or she's going to hang out while I make dinner. We know that the business is going to get taken care of at the meeting, or it got taken care of. And we are now freed up to just be friends.
Okay, so I'm going to put a caveat on that because that completely just gave me a trigger. So, if it's the friendship time, that when he's saying, "Oh, I'll just sit with her while she's fixing dinner," that means like sans phone and because
be together.
Like, maybe he's chopping onions and I'm whatever making the taco meat or whatever it is, but it's not he's playing a game and like in the 1950s he's reading the newspaper.
Yeah, your media hygiene is really important here. And
media hygiene.
Your media hygiene.
Nice. I like that.
It's critical because being present is sometimes hard, and we've developed this addictive habit of my eyes don't know where to look right now, up comes the screen.
Right.
It's just a totally natural thing. And to break that habit and to be present as a friend is really important. And
to look at your spouse in their eyes, that is so important. We've talked about that. And just looking at me in my eyes, because it develops intimacy. And so many couples, that's statistic that comes up, that you're not looking at each other. You're talking, I'm sitting here talking about, our son or whatever, and I'm not looking at him. And you have to turn and look. So you need to appreciate each other's passions. That's what friends do.
Tell me how you did that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so when our son was like, I think 10 months old, we had a friend who introduced Jeff to cycling and on a bike. And so it got to be where it was getting more involved. So he was gone more and more, like an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. And, I had a little child and he'd come home exhausted, and it became initially it was a source of resentment and we had to work out this pattern in our life because it was definitely a dynamic shift. But what happened was that I knew this wasn't going away, and it was healthy and I wanted him to do it. And so I started getting more and more involved in cycling. And so all of a sudden the Tour of France comes along in July 1st, everybody knows, except in the pandemic. But not everybody, but everybody knows.
Everybody who's smart.
Right. Where's Yellow? So where's Yellow, the Maillot Jaune? And so I didn't become a cyclist, but I engaged, and it's like, okay, this is really important to him, so I'm gonna get behind it. So we had fun with it, and we went to the Tour of California together, and we took our son, and we got Lance Armstrong's autograph, and it was awesome, and it was just a beautiful thing. And so now, and it wasn't so bad to look at. Looking at Fabian Cancellara and Peter Sagan is not a tough thing to do, ladies. So I liked it.
But what was powerful about it was she chose to intentionally learn some vocabulary.
Right.
It was really that simple. She learned that Fabian Cancellara was important, that Peter Sagan was important. She learned about the Maillot Jaune.
The Maillot Jaune and the polka dot jersey.
And that July is the Tour de France.
Right.
So in all of that was just a statement of I'm with you and I'm side by side with you. And that's been a part of our relationship the whole time. So to learn that vocabulary, I know what a sconce is. What guy generally knows what a sconce is?
So my passion is design and fashion.
Yeah, design and fashion. And so I've learned about the colors, and I've learned about art, the different design, and I've appreciated art. And so coming alongside, really at the bottom of this, the question is, what can you do this week to walk side by side with one another as friends? Not in the business of doing family, not that, but side by side as friends. What can you adventure together in? What can you learn together around? What can you learn of the other that they're doing? What vocabulary can you develop around that? Those things are huge. So what can you do this week to build the friendship with your spouse? Anything else we need to add? That's your big challenge. Build the friendship. Baby steps. You don't have to take huge steps, but baby steps. Stand with them. And maybe if of all the things, the biggest learning in all of this for me was and has been, take her side. And it might be take his side to emotionally align your emotions with your spouse.
Right. And especially when your children are small, take your wife's side or take the spouse's side that is at home the dominant time or the most time.
Oh man.
Because they're really in the trenches.
Can we go aside? I'm sorry, I've just got to add a little side light here. This includes with kids. So there were times where Marci and Caleb were having a hard time, and I came home from work, and I can see the conflict there, and I can see my son's behavior and the reason for it, and I can see why it got under her skin, and I have a tendency to want to justify his behavior to her. That's not helpful. That's not what a friend does, right? The time
doesn't
comes.
Help the intimacy factor.
It doesn't. The time will come when you can have a conversation around the behavior and around the relationship. But as a friend, take her side and say, wow, I can't believe that happened today. And I would be furious with our kid as well. That's a huge move to make. So I guess we could keep going and going on this. I thought it was going to be a short one, but not so much.
We can cut it here.
Yeah.
We love friends. You guys. Be friends. Try not to be roommates and dealing with the business of life, and engage, dream, and have fun with each other. Even when you have little kids, there's still something that you can laugh about and enjoy with each other.
So God bless you. Thank you. Forward this on to folks. A lot of couples need to hear this, so send it to them. And if you want to talk more about that, we're available to you. So you can just reach out to us on thekindfaith.org. And we will see you next week. God bless you.
Have a great week and have fun.
Yeah, be friends.